Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into something pretty profound, wouldn't you say?
I think profound is a good word for it. It can get pretty deep.
Yeah. We're tackling Chapter 12 from David R. Hawkins' book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender. It's all about love.
But not just love in the way you might typically think about it, right?
Right. Hawkins presents love as kind of this ultimate state of being. And this chapter explores how you get there by really, well, letting go.
Letting go of all the stuff that gets in the way.
Exactly. All those negative emotions we tend to hold on to, the fears, the resentments.
And it's fascinating how he connects this process of letting go to directly experiencing love. Like love is what emerges when those blocks are gone.
I like how he starts the chapter by listing all these qualities, these characteristics of what this love actually looks and feels like.
Almost like a checklist, right?
Yeah, it is. Heartfelt, generous, nurturing, affectionate, steadfast, and it goes on and on.
And it's not just fleeting feelings. It's like you become these things.
Yeah, he really drives that point home. This isn't just about feeling loving sometimes. It's about a fundamental shift in your way of being.
Which is, I think, why he uses all those potent words. You become forgiving, protective, uplifting, holistic, gracious. It's like he's describing a completely different way of moving through the world.
With warmth and gratitude, appreciation, humility, completion, vision, purity of motive, sweetness. It's pretty incredible.
It really is. It's pretty intense.
And to make this idea more concrete, he gives these really down-to-earth examples. Not these grand romantic gestures, but these subtle, everyday moments.
Oh, yeah, those really stuck with me. Like that story of the boy remembering a silly song his father taught him years and years ago.
Right. It's about that lasting affection.
Exactly. Or he mentions a sailor weathering a huge storm, putting himself at risk to protect his crew.
That unwavering dedication, right?
And what about a doctor quietly caring for their patients? That unspoken empathy and compassion.
Oh, and I love the example of the mother comforting her sick child. Just that pure, unconditional love and support.
So powerful. And even something as simple as, he says, a wife making coffee just the way her husband likes it every morning. It's a small gesture, but infused with care.
All these examples show how love is present in so many forms if we're just open to seeing them.
I do. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. They get so stuck on the idea of romantic love, like that's the only real kind of love.
And Hawkins addresses that head on. He acknowledges it with those terms like, honey and sweetheart,
But then he immediately expands the scope.
to all these other types of love, like the love you feel for your pets, your family, your friends.
And the love of freedom, having a purpose in your work, even love for your country.
Love of virtues like enthusiasm and forgiveness.
Oh, and I really liked how he talked about the energy of groups like AA, that sense of collective support and love that helps people overcome really challenging things.
Right. And it makes you realize this energy of love is so much bigger than just one relationship or one type of experience.
It really is. And he also talks about how this energy of love has this immense power to heal, to transform, to really change things in your life.
That story about the duck hunter was a really powerful example of that, wasn't it?
It was. Do you remember how it goes?
Yeah, so the hunter shoots a duck and then sees the female duck fly down and cradle the injured one with her wings.
That just pure, devoted love.
Right. And that act was so powerful that it actually caused the hunter to give up hunting entirely.
It really highlights how experiencing love, even witnessing it, can create such a huge shift within you.
And that, once you connect with that loving energy on a deep level, actions that go against it just become unthinkable.
And I think that leads into a point that might seem a little bit paradoxical, but Hawkins talks about the power of not always expressing love directly.
That's interesting, isn't it? Why would that be?
Because, he suggests, some people, especially if they've been hurt or are really guarded, can actually feel threatened by overt expressions of love.
They might be suspicious or afraid of getting hurt again.
Exactly. So in those cases, he says it can be more effective to just embody lovingness as your natural way of being rather than putting it into words.
So it's about the energy you radiate, not necessarily the things you say.
Right. Hawkins describes it beautifully. He says, lovingness is a way of being that transforms everything around you because of the radiation of that energy.
It's kind of a subtle but persistent force.
And it can soften even those who seem really closed off, you know? They might find themselves being more forgiving, more understanding without you having to confront them directly.
It's like that loving energy just subtly melts away some of the resistance.
Exactly. And I think a big part of embodying this lovingness is the practice of forgiveness, which is something that Hawkins really emphasizes.
And he approaches forgiveness in such a unique way. It's not just about forgiving others, it's about how you relate to yourself, too.
It's about offering grace to yourself for the mistakes you made in the past, when you had less awareness.
And I love that analogy he uses. He says to think of your ego with all its flaws and limitations as a cute little teddy bear.
Ah.
It's about, loving and accepting that part of yourself, even if it's not always perfect.
That's such a good way to look at it.
And when you can do that for yourself, it becomes so much easier to extend that same compassion and understanding to others.
And it cultivates gratitude too, right? Gratitude for life, for acts of kindness, and even for the simple love you receive from your pets.
Which all leads to, as Hawkins puts it, becoming love.
It sounds almost too simple, but what a profound idea to actually become the very essence of love.
It is a big shift. And he describes it as this state where everything you do, everything you think and say, flows from that place of love.
It's like this wellspring inside you that just naturally spills out into the world.
And he even talks about how this can manifest in surprising ways in your daily life.
Like how?
Well, he says things like, your food might even taste better, or you might feel more drawn to helping animals in need.
Like everything just flows more smoothly.
Exactly. It's like the universe is responding to that loving energy.
And speaking of the universe responding, remember what he said about pets?
Oh, yeah. Particularly dogs.
Yeah.
He said they're such a powerful source of love.
And he even cited research that suggests owning a dog can add 10 years to your life.
That's pretty amazing.
It's incredible, really. And he attributes it to love's powerful anabolic effect, that it actually boosts your physical well-being, plus the whole endorphin thing.
Right, all those feel-good chemicals. So love is literally good for your health.
It really is. And he extends this idea to healing in general, saying that this loving energy can support the body's natural healing processes.
Because when you're in a positive, harmonious state, your body can function more optimally.
Exactly. He even observes that some illnesses resolve spontaneously, while others seem to respond well to those consciousness-based therapies.
Techniques that help you tap into that deeper level of peace and well-being.
Right. Although he does caution that sometimes persistent illnesses might have a deeper meaning, something you need to work through on a soul level.
Because it's not always a simple fix.
It's not. But here's the thing. As you progress further on this path of letting go, of embodying love, Hawkins describes this fascinating shift in consciousness that starts to happen.
Like your whole perception of reality starts to change.
Yeah, he talks about how your awareness of your physical body actually diminishes.
Interesting.
And your thoughts, that constant mental chatter, kind of quiets down.
You're not so caught up in your head anymore.
Not as much. And you start to operate more from a place of knowingness. It's like this intuitive understanding of things.
It sounds so peaceful.
It is. And he says that as you vibrate at these higher frequencies, you start to perceive this interconnectedness between everything.
It's like you can see the invisible threads that connect us all.
Exactly. And communication becomes more nonverbal, more intuitive.
And negative emotions just lose their grip on you.
They do. Even in the face of loss, you might feel disappointment, but not that all-consuming grief.
And all of this culminates in what Hawkins calls unconditional love.
Which he says is actually pretty rare.
Only a tiny percentage of people are really operating at this level consistently.
I can see why. He describes it as something truly remarkable, miraculous, inclusive, non-selective, transformative, unlimited, effortless. It just keeps going.
It's like a whole other dimension of love. So what does it actually feel like to be in that state, practically speaking?
Well, he says there's this complete letting go of the ego's need to control things. Everything starts to unfold effortlessly, synchronistically, and joy just emanates from within, no matter what's happening externally.
Wow.
It's like having this endless wellspring of energy and happiness that doesn't depend on anything outside of you.
He even mentions that things that might seem miraculous to others become almost commonplace in this state.
Right. But he's careful to point out that these experiences are gifts, not something to feed your ego.
So you don't get all puffed up about it.
Exactly. And the surrender just keeps deepening.
Yeah.
You even let go of attachment to those blissful states, those ecstatic
It's
experiences.
like you're constantly letting go of anything that could hold you back.
And that includes judgments and opinions of others. You just see them as they are on their own journey with their own set of limitations.
So unconditional love means loving everyone no matter what, right?
Absolutely. He even talks about extending love to people who are really difficult, even those who have committed crimes.
Wow, that's challenging.
It is. But he emphasizes that it's not about condoning their actions, it's about seeing them as human beings who have been caught in these cycles of negativity and suffering.
It's about feeling compassion instead of hate.
Exactly. And he says a huge part of this is letting go of any kind of scorekeeping, any expectation of reciprocity. It's pure selfless giving.
There's no strings attached. And this is where true forgiveness comes in, right?
Absolutely. Because when you can see people as limited rather than inherently bad, it becomes so much easier to forgive.
It's like you're choosing to see the best in everyone, even when it's hard.
And he takes this idea to an extreme with the example of, Adolf Hitler.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He talked about how, while you can never condone the horrific acts, you can try to understand that he was deeply caught in these negative energies and offer forgiveness, not for him, but for yourself.
To free yourself from the burden of hatred.
And I think it's important to note that this applies to everyone, even people we might consider enemies.
Like in the example of the kamikaze pilots, he talks about respecting their dedication, but also recognizing that their actions stemmed from fear and a limited worldview.
Which ultimately leads to the final stage, which is oneness.
And this sounds like the most transformative stage of all. So what does it mean to experience oneness?
Hawkins describes it as a complete shift in perception, where you start to see the essence of everything. You recognize the inherent perfection in all things.
Like you're seeing beyond the surface level.
Exactly. And time ceases to have the same meaning. There's just this eternal now.
It sounds like a truly mystical experience.
It is. It's about merging with the universe, realizing that you are not separate from anything.
That you're a part of this grand, interconnected web of existence.
Right. And while your outer life may or may not change dramatically, there's this inner stillness that becomes more and more prevalent.
And a deep appreciation for beauty.
Oh, yes. And he shares that very personal story, the one about his 10 days of intense inner turmoil.
Oh, that one was intense.
It was. He talks about going through this period of deep despair and conflict, but then through complete surrender, experiencing this sudden and profound shift into peace and stillness.
And that stillness stayed with him, even amidst the chaos of New York City.
It's like discovering this inner sanctuary that nothing can touch.
And that leads to the realization that this loving energy, this stillness, is what actually holds everything together.
Right. It's the glue that binds the universe.
And it counterbalances all the negativity, prevents things from completely falling apart.
Exactly. And he connects this to the rising of consciousness, to the energy moving up through the chakras, ultimately reaching the heart chakra, the center of love.
So unconditional love becomes universal love.
Yes. You become all heart, as he puts it.
And your perception of others changes completely. He uses that great example, of how someone with a limited perspective might see a scruffy old man and think, bum.
Right. Just dismissing them based on their appearance.
But someone who's operating from love sees that person's experience, their wisdom, their soul.
It's like recognizing a liberated being.
And he actually experienced this firsthand. Remember the story of the old man he encountered on Fifth Avenue?
Oh, yeah, where they just looked at each other and recognized that shared stillness.
It's such a beautiful example of that recognition of oneness. And it all leads to the ultimate truth, as Hawkins states it. Love is the ultimate law of the universe.
A powerful statement.
And he says this calibrates at the highest level of consciousness. This idea that this infinite loving energy is what governs everything, what keeps everything in balance.
It really is a hopeful and inspiring message, isn't it?
It is. So to sum it all up, Chapter 12 of Letting Go really encourages us to see love not just as a feeling, but as a state of being that we cultivate through letting go of negativity.
It's about recognizing that love is so much bigger than we usually think. It's present in every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness, and it ultimately connects us all.
And this deep dive has hopefully given you some things to think about, to reflect on how you can bring more of this loving energy into your life.
And for those who want to explore these ideas further, Hawkins' work offers a wealth of wisdom and practical techniques.
So thank you for joining us on this exploration of love. We hope it's been insightful and inspiring for you.
It has been for me.
Until next time, keep letting go and keep loving.
I'll do my best. You too.
I will.